Hey everybody, this is John. Welcome to the free video. So what a fun day today. This is, so far this year, the best trading day of the year. We came into this market this morning heavily weighted on the short side. So when we gapped down this morning into that bottom of that channel, we closed out our puts. So we had some nice puts on SPY and some call credit spreads on SPX, and that worked out good. And then also what was nice is our two unicorns is that we had long trades on Snapchat, and that was upgraded, so that helped, as well as Tesla, which is in its own universe. And so if we come over here and we can see from Snapchat, Snapchat continues to be a big winner for us. Took profits on that one today. These options here up 100%, almost up 100%. So that was good. And then Tesla's just on fire. This thing's just been a beast. Dumped the calls today, still holding the put credit spread there. And so the question is, what do we look at next? And so the big question there is just examining the market, right? So, from the spiders, we can see that, okay, we're at the bottom of this channel, so it makes sense that we're going to get a retracement here. But the question is did we bottom here today, right? And we can see that this squeeze, still has a little potential bit of life in it. And so the question is like, okay, are we bottoming here and going off to the races, or are there other things that we need to look at, right? And if we look at, say, the financials, okay, we can see like, okay, the financials here also have a squeeze, and it's going off. So what about anything else? What about consumer stocks? It's like, oh wow, this thing has a squeeze that hasn't fired yet. So is that something that's going to add more fuel to the downside? What about basic materials? Okay, that has a squeeze, and is that something that when it triggers, it's going to be to the downside and it's going to add more fuel to the fire, right? And so the idea with this here is that we want to stay in flow with the market. Okay, we don't want to be caught unaware. And the biggest thing here is like, okay, how do we stay on top of that? How do we stay on top of that flow? All right, so for the markets, in terms of what to expect for the rest of this week, what we want to do is we want to look at this just as objectively as possible, right? So if we look at this objectively, what's going to happen is, and we got to have the right tools, right, to look at this objectively. So first of all, we already know that the daily chart has a squeeze that's set up to the downside. The typical squeeze lasts 8 to 10 bars, and we're 4 bars into this, right? So we could potentially continue across this downtrend, right, for 4 to 6 more days. And right now we can see the capped levels on the S&Ps for the rest of the week based on these institutional grade expected move targets that we released in our class on Saturday, okay? But the more important thing in here is with this triple squeeze is at a glance, we can see what other sectors are still in a squeeze, okay? And we can see that the Qs are still in a squeeze, right? And then if we come down here, we can see that 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, XLP is still in a squeeze. XLB is in a squeeze. And so then the question becomes like, okay, well, what is this market really setting up for? Okay, so, if SPX triggered short, all right, and if we look at financials and we can see that financials are already short, right? So what about the key with this, with right in here, is what's in a squeeze right now, okay? So if we look at XLB, basic materials, all right, we can see that this is in a squeeze that hasn't even triggered yet. Okay, so here we are. It's a key sector within the S&P 500. It's setting up a squeeze that hasn't even triggered yet. Okay, and then what about XLP, another key sector in the S&P 500 that hasn't even triggered yet. Okay, and then obviously the Qs, key sector, hasn't even triggered yet. And so what I've found is that a lot of times by looking at this is that instead of just focusing on the S&P 500, because we could say like, okay, that could give us a false sense of security here, saying like, oh wow, look at the, we got a big reversal today, and that might be it, and it's time to go long here. Well, if we're going to go long on this, but basic materials, right, and consumer-related stocks and the Qs are setting up to trigger a new short, thus giving the downside more room, then we're operating under a completely false premise by just looking at the S&Ps. And so the whole point of this is that we can really understand the ebbs and flow of the markets much better when we're glancing at all of the key sectors, okay? All of the key sectors like that. And it's just so important. Oh, there we go. I just paused it again. So this is what I'm calling the shadow stock system. This has been, for me, a very important discovery in watching how money flows in and out of sectors, okay, and to kind of find where the focus moves are going to happen. Now, we had a fantastic class on Saturday where we went through this stuff in detail. It was very exciting. Everybody was really pumped up, and we're starting the live trading on Tuesday using this. Okay, Monday, today, was the best trading day of the year so far. I'm anticipating that the trading this week is going to be fantastic, and these classes, at least the last 12 of them, have paid for themselves. So if you're seeing this and it sounds interesting, we've already had the starter class. For those of you that are newer, even the people that have been with us for a while love this class. They're like, okay, that was the best overview of how the stock market works that I've seen in my life or in a long time. The strategy in class included how to use that triple squeeze indicator, plus included the indicator. Now we are moving on to the live trading. Okay, so if you're looking at this going like, man, that live trading sounds awesome, you can still sign up for this. You'll get this as a recording, you'll get this as a recording, you'll get this indicator, and you'll get the expected move indicator. And then starting on Tuesday, we can actually dive in and start making some money together. So simplertrading.com/shadow. This is going to be a lot of fun. You guys have a great rest of the day, and we'll see you at the next update.